Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for this segment, we have Phillip Shoemaker. He's the Executive Director at Identity.com to discuss decentralized identities, where people are in control and holding their own identities rather than renting them from big tech. Phillip, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me on, Jill.
All right, you got it. Give us some more in-depth insight into decentralized identities and how people using Web3 and crypto are leveraging them.
Yeah, so right now, in the existing world that we're in, where people are using identities through big tech, right? You select your identities through Apple, through Facebook, et cetera. People are aggregating so much information about us and storing it on their own servers. So it's akin to us renting our identities. And what decentralized identity does is it pulls control back into the hands of the user. So the idea behind it is that you authenticate yourself, say with your phone, and you store this verified credential, if you will, this verified identity on your phone. And when you need to go somewhere, you need to check in, you need to use your identity, say at a hotel or at a bar, or even online in the crypto world. You do so and you choose who to send the data to, and you choose what data is sent. So a good example of that people like to use is when you go to buy alcohol, they need to know just one thing. Are you of age or not, right? They don't need to know your birth date. They just need to know a fact. Are you older than 21? And right now we show people our driver's license, which gives them all the information about us, a whole lot more information than they truly need. So we want to wrestle that control back, put it into our hands so we control exactly what they see. They should just see a thumbs up that says, yes, this is Jill, she's over 21. They don't need to know your full date, your full birth date. So that's the kind of idea behind decentralized identity. And the way it's done is you store a majority of the information on your phone, and you control where and when and what information you provide to providers. So right now in the crypto world, sadly, decentralized money is everything. Everybody wants to store money in a decentralized way. They say if it's stored on Coinbase or Binance, then you don't really own that money, right? You need to store it in your own wallet. And so people are very, very stern about this, and they store money on their own wallet. They store it on their phone. They keep the passphrase, their private keys hidden somewhere in a safe or on their device so they can get access to the money, and nobody can take that money from them. Nobody can do stuff with it that they don't want to. Identities are a bit different. People in the decentralized world say, yes, decentralized money. And then when it comes to decentralized identity, they scratch their head and say, oh, that's too hard, right? Because I don't want to store private keys for my identity. I want my logins to be easy. I want all this to be relatively quick. So what we see in the decentralized crypto world is that not a lot of companies are picking up on a decentralized identity. They're going back to the old model, the Web 2 model, if you will, which is where they store it all in a server somewhere. And so all your information, again, is still out there to be taken and used without your permission. And the idea behind decentralized identity is you want those databases, what we call honeypots of information, to be eradicated. You want them gone. So there's no more Equifax hacks. There's no more hacks of our identity. If they want to hack your identity, they have to steal your phone, and then they have to spend a long time trying to decrypt it, which, as we know, is a very difficult problem. So that's the model that we're going towards, is where you control your identity, it's on your phone, et cetera. But the problem is it's harder to use, for sure. And companies are a little scared about that because it adds friction to the user experience. And as we know, friction often loses customers.
What about being able to verify those credentials? I mean, we know with the, everyone's introducing some sort of AI into their platforms. And then you kind of run the risk with, the cyber side of that, where perhaps it isn't that person, or perhaps, your identity has been hacked. How are you ensuring being able to verify that and it's the right person, the right identity, the right credentials?
Yeah. So one of the things that Identity.com does is we don't focus specifically on verifying that data ourselves. We use big third-party providers like Socure, Onfido, TransUnion, these companies that focus on identity verification for a living, right? That's their full-time job. What we do is we take those verifications and we stamp them in a wallet. We put some attestation on chain so we can verify it. But how does it get verified is a great question. These companies like Onfido and Socure, what they ultimately do is They look at all the data first. First of all, they do a lot of scans of the driver's license because you're doing a document scan usually with your passport or your driver's license. And they look for it to make sure that all the holograms are there, that all the data that should be on a valid ID is there. They also read the back of the barcode, the back of the license, and they do a comparison of the information on the front with what's represented in the barcode on the back. And then they look through public databases. These are things that TransUnion and all the credit unions hold this information. And they make sure that that data is valid, right? That there is someone by this name, that they are the age that it says on the ID, et cetera. And then the last check that we typically do, and this is usually using a different third-party company as well, it does a face scan. So it does a 3D representation of your face and compares it to the face that's on the driver's license. And it does a comparison that way to make sure that you didn't just paste another photo on top of the ID and that all the checks are done. And so it does a lot of verifications like that. And typically about 95% to 98% of people are instantly scanned in 30 seconds or less with these driver's license or passports. And then the validation or the verification occurs. That's when we stamp it on the chain and make sure that, and put the data into your wallet and make sure that everything's verified. So at that point, we've created what's called a verified credential. It's signed by us, by identity.com, and we make sure that you can't break the encryption. So nobody can fake it moving forward. But AI is, that throws a monkey wrench in the works, right? There's AIs that are creating synthetic identities that are mashing a bit of this and a bit of that, different people together, people that have passed away, et cetera. And it puts that into a license or a type of format. And what these companies are doing, the Socures and the Onfidos, is they're also leveraging an AI to try to track down any sort of inconsistencies in that data. And they're doing a really good job at making that so. So it's AI battling AI at this point.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point, perhaps in this lifetime, where we won't need documents, whether we're driving, we're going to the airport, we're going to conferences? We went to a conference last week and we had to go with IDs. We had to get the QR code scanned. We were scanned every place we went in and out. I'm sure part of that is for data tracking. I get that. But do you think we'll ever get to a future where ourselves, our biometrics, that is the identity?
Yes, I do believe we're heading in that direction, but I can't say it's a good thing, right? Because look, there are doppelgangers in the world. There are people that look like you, that might pass a facial scan, right? So that's one of the scares, right? Is one of the things that's scary about this is that somebody could ultimately pass a facial scan. They're few and far between, but look, 1 in a million, 1 in a billion. I don't know what the number is, but yeah, there are doppelgangers that can actually do that. So that's why companies like WorldCom, right? These a variety of companies that are doing things like retina scans, et cetera, because that's more of a different way to be able to identify you. But then you're running the risk of shoving your eye into everything, and ultimately someone can do a retina scan and fake it and be able to prove that they are you, et cetera. Now, so we keep getting into these quagmires of different types of biometrics that are leading us astray, right? First of all, there's a lot of data out there. All our biometrics will ultimately be stored in the cloud somewhere. And again, that's a honeypot of information for hackers, and they're going to go after these biometric scans. So we don't want to store these things, right? That's the way it works right now. And we don't want to go to a way where people are scanning our retina or doing a face scan, or there's gait detection because everybody walks differently. There's so many different pieces here that, yes, I believe everybody's gathering this information, it's storing it somewhere, but it's just, to me, it's just going in the wrong direction. Again, it's like these honeypots of identity. So the way I think it should work is we're not often away from our devices. Now, whether it's a telephone thing, or if it's going to be a Neuralink in our head, or a special idea of a contact lens that's in our eye, we will ultimately be able to identify ourselves without these paper identities, right? We want to get rid of these paper identities because they're easily lost, stolen, taken. Human traffickers often take people's IDs and lord it over them as a way to make them do their work for them. So these are things that we want to make sure that we get away from, and we want to be able to to store this stuff somewhere in a physical device that you bring with you, and that's how you validate, right? Imagine if you went to that conference and you didn't have to bring paper ID, but you could just use your identity.com app, or even the Apple app, that the Apple Wallet app that will ultimately store mobile driver's licenses. Those are the ways that we need to ultimately authenticate you, because I'm more likely to leave my house without my wallet, but I'm not likely to leave the house without my phone.
All right, excellent point, Phillip. Appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.